welcome to Mock Draft Live. Patrick Claiborne, glad to be here with draft analysts Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, and the star of the show today, the man whose mock draft is dropping. We got Coachella this week. We got the draft a couple of weeks from Thursday. Yes. But Rhett, are you ready for your mock draft to give to the people today?
Well, look, you know, some draft analysts need multiple mock drafts in order to accurately get these picks right. They want to take multiple shots at it. I just have a one-dot final. That's what I should say at the bottom, one and only. 31 for 31 this year, so I feel good about that.
I feel like you lost your custom URL, though. I feel like we had
that was a
Lewis draft or something.
Yeah.
That's out.
That's out.
And if you're keeping track, the first shot came from Rhett, a preemptive strike. We'll see if we can get some more. But again, as DJ mentioned,
gotta get him in while I can.
Everybody's mocking the same URL, NFL.com/mock draft. So let's get right into it as we talk about this draft, the top of the draft, the decisions for the Panthers. Rhett, you've got Bryce Young.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people want to associate the big prototypical quarterbacks with Frank Reich, considering his history. That's only one part of the equation, right? C.J. Stroud would fit that bill. He also fits the bill of playmaker, which is something that Frank Reich said, but Bryce Young definitely fits that mold even better. I think gives you more options to certainly make plays in a variety of ways, which is what we've seen over the course of the last 2 years with Bryce Young leading the Alabama Crimson Tide, so he's the pick at 1.
Let's go to the Texans at 2. C.J. Stroud goes to Houston for new head coach DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, let's get the best pure passer in this draft, right? And I feel like this is an opportunity. This draft is an opportunity for the Houston Texans to find cornerstones on both sides of the ball. They do it here at number 2 overall on offense, get a quarterback they can build around for the next decade plus, maybe tease ahead to what they're going to do at number 12 there with my explanation here. But I think this is an excellent opportunity for the Texans to get better.
We'll skip Arizona and go to the Colts at 4. You've got them taking the big quarterback from Gainesville, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, and look, I think if you're the Colts and you're not moving up, and if you have your choice between Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, what you're kind of deciding here, if you feel like they have similar floors, and I got Anthony Richardson as having a higher ceiling, if you can find a way to maximize it, let's take that guy with the higher ceiling. That's why I give the Colts Anthony Richardson here, but it is paramount that they have a plan in place to maximize his potential and potential development at the next level. Got to have that ready to go if you're going to take Anthony Richardson.
Potential always a key topic when it comes to Anthony Richardson, but he only had 13 starts in college, the same number as Mitchell Trubisky coming out of Bucky's Tar Heels. And so let's talk about what makes him so special, DJ.
Yeah, to me, you're buying the future with Anthony Richardson, but there are glimpses in the present. When you watch what he did at Florida, he shows you some of that skill set that has teams really intrigued with what he can be at the next level. Let's start first of all with his pocket mobility. Look at how sudden and urgent he is with his movement. Doesn't even have to get his cleats back in the ground, delivers a strike down the field against the Tennessee Volunteers. This is the play of the year right here against Utah early in the year. Looks like he's holding a Nerf ball. The jump, pump, able to get outside. You had 2 free rushers on that play. He turns it into a touchdown. Design quarterback runs. You can incorporate all those you want. He is 244 pounds, and he can move the pile. Not only is he a physical runner, but now you get out in space in the open field. There aren't many guys that take the ball 80-plus at quarterback in the SEC against a level of competition that features the likes of LSU, as you see right here. So it's all in there. Patrick, you mentioned the sample size. It is not large, and that is a concern because that has been a little bit of a red flag over the last decade plus. But, man, there's so much ability there, and you can dream on what he can be.
And so what are we dreaming for the fit, Bucky, with looking at Indianapolis?
Well, I mean, you think about Shane Steichen and what he's been able to create, what he did with Jalen Hurts. You can take that same playbook and game plan and work with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is not as accomplished a college player, but he's a more talented prospect when it comes to his ability to run and throw. The dual threat playmaking ability is really intriguing, and is one of the reasons why this Indianapolis Colts have to seriously consider him at this point.
Guys, food for thought with Richardson. I kind of like the idea of, you know, the team being comfortable, whoever drafts him, with 3 quarterbacks being active on game day. Because if Anthony Richardson isn't ready to be the starter, then why would he be ready to be 1 play away from being the starter? So I like Anthony Richardson as like a potential QB3 who you could still use on any given game day if you find a way to put him into the game plan. And then even if quarterback 1 goes down, if your starter goes down, you keep that backup around. He then moves into the starter role, and then you can keep Anthony Richardson in that role that he's kind of been in all year and not force him to play maybe before he's ready.
Yeah, they've waited for veteran quarterbacks to be successful in Indianapolis. Why not wait
one more year
for a rookie quarterback? We'll skip some more picks. We'll slide down to the Titans at 11. Rhett's got another quarterback coming off the board.
throws a dart, lets it go, right on the money.
Love the decision here by Will Levis.
And Levis with the quarterback run. He'll have the first down and more. Easiest touchdown for Will Levis.
Okay, so at 11, the Tennessee Titans, Kentucky, get Will Levis coming out of Kentucky. It's not a long trip, right?
Yeah, no, I like that geographic proximity there. Definitely.
He thinks of everything. He thinks of everything.
Spatial awareness from my part.
I'm telling you, this is why I felt like this pick made the most sense. No, like, we did see Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans evaluation contingent at all these pro days. Vrabel was up in that kind of pseudo press box at the Kentucky Pro Day on the microphone. Felt like he was ready to announce Will Levis as the pick. Ultimately, that's why I ended up making this projection here. But I do feel like in the absence of a long-term commitment to Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis maybe gives you a bit more polish as a prospect than Malik Willis did as a third-round pick a year ago. And maybe you get another option for your future there at quarterback once Tannehill is done or moves on.
And so Tannehill would remain in place as kind of a person to learn from. How do you like that, DJ?
Well, eventually the key is going to be getting Tannehill and his money off the books. So, I mean, that's going to be a short-term deal, and then you would give the keys to the car over to Will Levis, and now you can reset that quarterback number. I think Tannehill's at 36.5 right now. Where they would get Levis here, Buck, you're talking about $6-7 million of cap charge. So not only are you getting Will Levis, you're getting all that extra money to go shopping for some other needs on this roster.
Yeah, you do have the ability to go shopping, and they have a ton of needs. They need to get back on track in terms of being able to compete in the AFC South. And so, young quarterback with some athleticism, physicality that allows them to continue to play the way they want to play with Derrick Henry. That is a way for the Tennessee Titans to get back on track.
Buck, are you seeing what Rhett's seeing here? Do you think Will Levis is on the board all the way to 11? And what's his ceiling?
Oh, well, I mean, I think his ceiling in terms of he has an opportunity to be a Josh Allen-like player, but it has to be the right scheme or the right play design. He has to have the right weapons on the outside, and then he has to continue to improve and evolve his game. But as we saw Josh Allen improve, if you take him in the early part of the first round, you're seeing that he has the right makeup to improve, much like Josh Allen was able to.
All right, let's keep this QB business going as we go to the Seahawks at 20, Rhett. You've got the fifth quarterback coming off the board. It's Hendon Hooker.
Let's have some fun here. And I think there's a number of teams that could be interested in the services of Hendon Hooker here, especially in that kind of range. You look at some of those teams with multiple first-round picks. You look at those teams with veteran quarterbacks already established. Seahawks certainly fit that bill. They get a defender. I ended up giving them, I think, Tyree Wilson at number 5. They come back around here at 20, and they get a quarterback for the future here. Allow Geno Smith to play, at least this next year, and not forcing Hendon onto the field. And I feel like it's an excellent situation and a good fit.
How do you feel about that fit with Hendon Hooker being able to watch Geno work in this offense, Buck?
Love it, because I think there's some similarities in their games in terms of how they deal from the pocket. Watching Geno going all the way back to West Virginia, Hendon Hooker does a lot of the same things. And because Geno's coming off such a remarkable year, there's nothing that will force the Seattle Seahawks to put him in. Because remember, Drew Lock is already there. Hendon Hooker can actually develop on the sideline because this is the player development model that the Seattle Seahawks have used for other guys in similar positions.
He's a fascinating discussion. I was on the phone earlier today with an executive who is not as high on Hendon Hooker as I am. And he was saying, look, you look at his age, he's 25 years old. That offense, the receivers they had, how they spread you out, it wasn't super complex or complicated. And my pushback is like, look, he did what he was asked to do with what he had. He couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
But I see somebody that can make every throw, somebody that's a good athlete, somebody that's competitive, smart, and tough based off everything I hear coming out of that building. So there's a lot to bet on with him. Do I wish he was younger and healthier? Absolutely. But I still think he's worthy of a first-round pick in this draft class. And I would also like to point out, last year I gave Patrick a lot of grief for his shoes. And I feel like this year he has taken his shoe game to a whole nother level. We've got gold tassels on these shoes right now. It is impressive.
I do feel a little inadequate, actually, over here.
Look at those. That's gorgeous.
Really good shoe.
Air Force One.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Enough of the shoe talk, and we're done with quarterbacks. That's it. No more quarterbacks. We're going to talk about some guys on the other side of the ball, top defensive prospects. Where does Rhett have them going? We ignored them. They're back next on Mock Draft Live.
Seriously, they're gold tassels. They're unbelievable.
My wife got them. We're back on Mock Draft Live, and we're continuing to roll through Rhett's latest mock. At pick 3, you've got the Cardinals taking the edge out of Alabama, Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, look, at my esteemed colleagues sitting to my right here talk a lot about hitting doubles in the first round. And look, with Will Anderson, feels like the safest player maybe in this draft. Stand-up double, maybe not off the green monster in Boston, but there is a smaller version of that center field wall at Chase Field in Arizona. I think you're in scoring position there with Will Anderson.
All right, let's skip down to the Seahawks at 5. Texas Tech edge rusher Tyree Wilson heading to the Pacific Northwest.
Look, and in this scenario, the Seahawks have a choice between a game wrecker off the edge or on the interior. And Jalen Carter ended up giving him Tyree Wilson. I don't know that we've seen this type of edge presence coming off the edge in Seattle in quite some time. And so I feel like, eventually maybe you get some of that production out of Boye Mafe, a draft pick from a year ago. Pair him up now, Tyree Wilson, and let's go get after the passer there in the NFC West.
At 6, you've got Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter's wait not lasting too long, going to Dan Campbell and the Lions.
Yeah, it feels like this is a culture fit that might benefit Jalen Carter. A locker room that is buying into what Dan Campbell is selling, and then the fact that you go edge last year with Aiden Hutchinson, you get a terrific player James Houston as well much later to come off the edge. Now you get a real interior presence, and this is a defensive line now in Detroit that is going to be feared there in the NFC North.
At 7, our first corner coming off the board, it's Illinois' Devin Witherspoon going to Las Vegas.
How much do the Raiders really love Will Levis as the 4th quarterback off the board here? Is that in play? Perhaps. You get the top 3 defenders also off the board before the Raiders are on the clock. So why not take this opportunity to get the best player at a marquee position, which just so happens to be a position of need for the Raiders as well. Devin Witherspoon, love his physicality, love his instincts, and a real good player here headed to Las Vegas.
Rhett literally asks and answers the questions in the same breakdown.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
He's a professional.
Unbelievable. Analyst.
I mean, this is how he operates. Let's go to number 8.
It's positionless analyst.
The Falcons making another regional connection. They strengthened their D-line by adding Clemson edge rusher Myles Murphy.
Well, look, a bigger framed edge rusher, right? 6'5", 275 pounds, like the athleticism, pretty solid production there as well. I think about maybe, some of the scheme preferences that Ryan Nielsen brings into Atlanta, and you put him up front up there with Grady Jackson and company, and you get Arnold Ebiketie, who they took last year, coming off the edge as well. And I think you just got some versatility there with Myles Murphy to help you finally perhaps solve that pass rushing problem in Atlanta.
All right, so let's clarify the picture of Rhett's picks 3 through 8. Will Anderson Jr., the first defensive player off the board, and then Anthony Richardson goes to the Colts at 4, followed by a run on defenders. The Raiders grabbing Devin Witherspoon, the Falcons adding edge rusher Myles Murphy. So Rhett's got Myles Murphy going into the top 10 for the first time on Mock Draft Live. So
Let's
Bucky,
go.
what makes the Clemson star potentially a top 10 pick?
Athleticism, speed, power, and relentlessness. He displays all those things when you watch the tape at Clemson. So we're going to pop on tape and just show you what you're getting. A guy who can turn that speed into power. There we see a little easy, long arm to knock him down. Here we see, once again, he loves putting that hand right in the center of your chest and driving you back. It's like a subtle power maneuver that he consistently wins with. But man, once you throw the jab, you set him up with the counter, comes over the top with a quick little arm over move to now get the sack. And then it's the athleticism, dip and rip.
That redirect.
Reads, puts his foot in the ground. Talk about the athleticism. What he could be at the next level far exceeds what he displayed at Clemson, and that should excite evaluators in the National Football League.
Well, clearly Rhett's excited about the potential of this pick. How do you feel about Murphy and the pick for the Falcons?
When Rhett gets a little nervous, his reflex is to then really crank up the energy. So he's a little nervous. This is a little early for Myles Murphy. I like Myles Murphy as a player.
Maybe there's some regret. I don't know.
I like him as a player. I think, in talking to folks around the league, the expectations, he probably goes off in the teens, 20s when it's all said and done in a really loaded, deep edge rusher draft class. But Buck did a great job of highlighting, there's a lot to like about him. I wish in the highlight package it wasn't all against Rice and Louisiana Tech, selfishly. But no, I think he's a good player, but this is a deep edge rusher draft. We'll see where he ends up going, but I think it's probably a little bit later in the first round.
Okay, fine.
Oh, I was expecting a defense.
He just expecting some sort of
like that.
Just relent like that.
Just
cave. Push back from the GM.
Look, I think remember last time they went Clemson right up front off the edge, ended up leading the league in sacks, right? Vic Beasley. I feel like they have been searching.
We had a little debate about that.
They have been searching
Big
for a
Fowler. Yes.
But I feel like Myles Murphy has an opportunity here to maybe even rise above the ceiling that we're placing on him here in this first round when he gets down to Atlanta.
There it is, a passionate defense,
Yep.
including a maybe from Rhett Lewis in his
what I
mock.
give you.
Let's keep the mock going. At 9, you've got the Bears getting Justin Fields some protection. We see Peter Skorinski going in the Windy City.
Well, look, if you're going to, declare that Justin Fields is your quarterback of the future, trade out of that #1 spot, then let's really commit to him. Let's commit to supporting him, and most importantly, let's commit to protecting him and getting the best offensive lineman in this class and a guy who gives you certainly some flexibility to get your best 5 guys out there. Tackle at Northwestern. Perhaps he can kick inside to guard, maybe even center if you really need. And it feels like it just gives you an opportunity to improve those starting 5 in front of Justin Fields.
So Skoronski gets a lineman off the board, and I'm sorry, Colleen, you're not here to see this. The Eagles pick 10, and they get the best back in the draft in Bijan Robinson.
All right, I took care before you hear Colleen. Let's go get one of the best players overall in this draft here. A team that, yes, we know they like to go big oftentimes early in the draft, but you've already got one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in football. We know you are committed to the run game. Miles Sanders now off in Carolina. Let's plug in an upgrade here with Bijan Robinson, and let's get back to the Super Bowl and this time hoist that Lombardi.
All right, speaking of getting back, the Eagles have not taken a running back in the top 10 since Keith Byers went 10 in 1986. DJ, is Bijan so generational that it justifies this pick in the top 10?
Well, I can justify it, and I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. On running backs, for me, I'm about not wasting their carries. So one of the reasons I've been against a lot of these teams in the top 10 taking a running back is the team's not any good, and a running back has a shelf life of 5-6 years. You're going to waste 4 or 5 of those years on a team that's not any good. The Eagles are ready to win right now. They're this close to winning a Super Bowl. You drop him in for the next 4 or 5 years while he's in his peak and his prime, every one of his carries will be meaningful and will matter. So I can make that case. Howard Roseman's not going to do it. I've been in that building. I've scouted for that team, and they simply do not believe in taking off-the-ball linebackers or running backs in the first round. But I like it, but it won't happen.
And here's the thing, what gets lost in that, and it's a great strategy because it's worked for a lot of teams, but you have to evaluate the player. Bijan Robinson is one of the top 5 best players, prospects in this draft class. So you want to give him his due. It's just a matter of, do teams value running backs enough to take him where he should be taken based on where his talent lies?
Well, and you could make the argument that the Eagles are in a place right now that maybe they just haven't quite been. I mean, like, you've already supported your offensive and defensive lines in a way that you feel comfortable with where you are both in the present and for the future. Like you might even have your Jason Kelce replacement already on the team, and Beef Jerky from a year ago. I mean, like, you've got guys to supplant, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, if this is their final run with the team. The one that maybe I could see is, you did bring back James Bradbury and Darius Slay, relatively short-term deals there. Maybe there's an opportunity to make that a position of strength as well and going to get one of those top corners that's on the board here. But look, let's not let all of the draft history get in the way of a good story here.
No, I like it.
Bijan Robinson feels like a great opportunity for the Eagles to have some fun here in the first round.
Aside from all the pick value, let's talk. Give us a comp, DJ, for Bijan Robinson.
Well, this one actually came from a buddy when I was at the Combine with a team, and I was talking about different players he reminded me of, and he brought it up and said, what about Edgerrin James? He had worked for the Colts at this point in time and said, gosh, he just looks exactly like him. And I remember being with the Baltimore Ravens 03 to 06 and seeing a lot of Edgerrin James and what he could do and provide for an offense, not only as a runner but as a receiver out of the backfield. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, I see it. I see it with Bijan Robinson. I think he's that type of a player, and obviously Edgerrin James, Hall of Famer.
Pretty darn good one.
Yeah, I mean, that's lots of comparison, but you see the talent. Like, this is a very special running back, and we can talk about the position being kind of devalued, but the importance is still significant, and for a team like the Eagles that are already at the cusp of doing it, man, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You did skip over, by the way, when he went Skoronski to the Bears. It's another tank of gas pick. I was thinking this was a tank of gas mock draft where Rhett was going to take a local player. And the secret behind that, Patrick, is that those picks tend to be well received by fan bases because they've watched these players.
Oh, I got a fan base.
And Rhett needs that.
Don't
He
you
needs
worry.
that. He needs that affirmation that this is a good player and a good
Well,
pick.
it's good. It's good to know what you need, not just for yourself, but from other people. And Rhett clearly
Let's
knows
make the
that.
draft party happy. That's all I'm trying to do.
We know that what you need is more picks from Rhett's mock. So let's go 11 through 17. We already talked about Will Levis going to the Titans as their quarterback of the future. 3 tackles, a run on tackles, starting with Paris Johnson Jr. Could be blocking for Aaron Rodgers. And then the Patriots, Commanders grab some corners and Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter Jr. Those 11 through 17 in Rhett Lewis's mock draft 1.0. Because as Rhett says, he only needs one. Coming up, the Ravens just picked up Odell, which means they're all in on winning back Lamar, right? Which wideout does Rhett have heading to Baltimore to strengthen their campaign for the return of Lamar Jackson? That's all coming up next on Mock Draft Live. Back on Mock Draft Live, get ready for one of the biggest parties of the year, the NFL Draft. Just 2 weeks away. Find out where the next generation of NFL stars are heading. All kicks off Thursday, April 27th in prime time from Kansas City. Catch all of the action on NFL Network and NFL Plus. Check it out, picks 18 through 21 in Rhett Lewis's mock draft. The Lions get Jared Goff, the top tight end in the draft. It's Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. The Bucs and Chargers tighten up their defenses. The big story here, though, is the Seahawks snagging their quarterback of the future in Hendon Hooker, and now our first wide receiver about to come off the board.
Here is Smith and Jigba. Oh, what a move. Coming around, and he finds space. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He is shifty, isn't he?
Jackson Smith and Jigba, touchdown.
Oh, in the Rhett Lewis mock draft, we had to wait till 22 to see the first wide receiver off the board. Ohio State's Jackson Smith and Jigba going to Baltimore to team up with maybe Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham Jr.
Right, the big maybe out there. And look, to be fair, I had JSN heading to Baltimore before OBJ signed, and then I thought about it after he was there, and I'm like, let's keep him. And let's think about the potential of this 11 personnel grouping in Baltimore. JSN running the slot, a healthy Bateman on the perimeter, and then you get OBJ, Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins. That might compete for one of the best personnel groupings there, in the league there. I kind of like the fit.
We got a grouping of a position at 23, officially a wide receiver run. Quentin Johnston comes out of TCU and goes to the Vikings to team up with Justin Jefferson.
Let's get an explosive play waiting to happen there for Kirk Cousins in Minnesota to help team up there with Justin Jefferson. Love his size, love his physicality with the ball in his hands after the catch. Does have to work on keeping the ball in his hands just a little bit. We didn't love some of those drops. Love that spin move that he showcases so often with the ball in his hands. Love it. A nice team and nice duo there with Justin Jefferson.
We'll skip a pick and go one more down. Another receiver off the board at 25, the G-Men snagging the former Trojan, Jordan Adams.
Yeah, I think you look at the best route runner in this draft, silky smooth with the way he operates there in the route tree, and I think he provides a consistent option to get open on the perimeter for Daniel Jones, something he has not had in the last couple of years. It is a position of need, and I feel like the value for this position group really matches up with the Giants here at 25.
Wideouts flying off the board at 26. Dallas grabs Dak, a new weapon. It's Boston College's Zay Flowers.
Yeah, look, he's not the biggest guy on the board here at this position, but I don't think that when you watch him, you see any lack for size in his impact. I think he's a guy that can make plays all over the field in a bunch of different situations as a wideout here in this group. And again, you're looking at a pretty good roster here in Dallas, and on the offensive side, let's make CeeDee Lamb better by giving him another guy to team up with there in Zay Flowers. He may be the fourth guy off the board, but certainly wouldn't shock me if he is number one in terms of rookie wide receivers with production at the end of the season.
So we had a few wideouts there. Let's circle back to the Ravens taking JSN at 22. How do you like the pairing of Smith and Jigba with Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, I think it's going to give them some firepower, and it's also going to give you some easy completions because with JSN in the slot and you have Andrews at tight end on the other side of the formation, the middle of the field, Lamar, we talked about it, Buck, he loves working inside the numbers, going all the way back to his days at Louisville. Yes. Outside the numbers is where he's had some issues. You're going to have a lot of easy completions baked in with Jackson Smith and Jigba in there.
I mean, you talk about a guy who is terrific in the slot, who understands how to consistently get open. He is a master at using subtle releases and different maneuvers to create separation. You put him in the middle of that offense with OBJ on the outside, Rashad Bateman emerging as a guy who can be a solid starter. Now this offense looks drastically different. You also have a different play calling Todd Monken.
Yeah, you mentioned the emergence of Rashad Bateman. Should the Ravens look for a receiver here if Lamar comes back, considering what they've done?
Well, I mean, I think you still got to make sure that we pay the quarterback, never want the quarterback to play great. And so part of the issue that you've had in Baltimore, you haven't necessarily supported him with enough high caliber, quality pass catchers, well, now you have that. Now you can put more onus on Lamar Jackson if he returns.
Well, look, and I don't mind them going back to the well here. Look, I think the draft history is well documented at this point. They've taken like 6 wideouts in the last 3 drafts, and not all of them have worked out. And I think the jury's still out on whether we can get Rashad Bateman back to some of the flashes and glimpses we saw, but certainly putting another high-quality playmaker like JSN in there in the slot and another, big-time player in OBJ to go along with Andrews, I think just helps elevate everybody and give Lamar more options.
I also think there's this thing called the Mahomes doctrine. It's not really a thing. I'm trying to make it a thing.
Let's make it.
But knowing how many points you have to score to chase a championship in the AFC with all the quarterbacks you got to go through with Burrow and Allen and Mahomes, and you're looking at Herbert and Trevor Lawrence and on and on and on and on and on. You can't have enough firepower. Just keep going.
All right, team that would like to have some more firepower after a down year on offense is the Cowboys. They get Zay Flowers in Rhett's mock draft. How do you feel about that pick?
I love Zay Flowers, and I actually agree 100% with what Rhett said, that if we wake up at the end of next year and he has the best rookie season, I will not be shocked, because he's got a lot of Steve Smith to his game. When you pop on the video, the size, and Rhett said it beautifully, it doesn't show up. You're not watching him, not looking back at your paper and going like, oh, yeah, he's little, he plays small. No, you see somebody that gets in and out of breaks very efficiently. There's tons of twitch and explosiveness. And then he goes down the field and he makes plays over the top. Not only tracking the ball like you see right here, but you'll see him climb the ladder on occasion as well and go up and play big for a guy who's not real big. Great example of it right here, able to take this one away.
Love that play.
He's just a tremendous, tremendous player. T.Y. Hilton, what he was as a young player in Indianapolis, he's got that type of impact. This is a real dude.
Mike McCarthy going to call the plays now. How do you like the fit in Dallas for Flowers?
Oh, I love the fit, but I see a guy that's more like Antonio Brown on the perimeter in Zay Flowers, someone that when you put the ball in his hands, he is going to be a nightmare for defenders to kind of get around and corral him in space. Mike McCarthy loves to use the quick rhythm passing game to help his quarterback operate at an efficient rate. Well, now when you have a playmaker like Flowers on the perimeter, it allows Dak Prescott to really kind of string together those completions that you need to get this offense going.
I think he's a serious guy, too. I mean, you look at the way he has matured his body, even in this run-up to the draft, kind of adding some of that muscle to his frame. And look, he was with us at the East-West Shrine Bowl, which we had here on NFL Network, and practiced for 1 day.
Oh, my gosh.
That was about all anybody had to see from him in that environment. He was best in show, and I think he very well could be, as DJ and I have kind of been talking about, best in show in this class when it's all said and done.
Let's keep the offensive theme going. We'll go to 28. Joe Burrow getting a new weapon in Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Is he the best pure receiver in this class? Maybe not. Maybe that's Dalton Kincaid. Is he the best pure blocker in this class? Yeah, it kind of feels like Darnell Washington. But is he the best of both worlds? Quite possibly. And look, tight end is like the one spot in which the Bengals have not invested significantly on offense. Hayden Hurst gave him some good production a year ago. He's now down in Carolina. So let's go get Michael Mayer. Let's help the run in pass game here.
All right. Let's
By the way, I'm looking this up as we speak right now. Michael Mayer. Okay, I thought he might be from Cincinnati. He's from Kentucky. Close enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
keep him the thing.
One tank.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Prius. It's going to get in there. Let's go.
Here we go.
Another tight end.
Yes.
29, supersized tight end Darnell Washington going to the Saints.
Yeah, look, I was also kind of wondering, like, might the Saints, try to also upgrade the interior of their offensive line here? They've had some injury issues there the last couple of years. Maybe this is a spot where they could go edge rusher or interior D lineman as well, but gosh, I just feel like, Darnell Washington could give the Saints what they haven't had since Hobie Brenner and John Tice were playing tight end.
Hobie Brenner drop right there.
Nice. My childhood, a big-time piece that can help in the run game, a 6th offensive lineman, as he is often affectionately referred to. I love this possibility here.
All right, let's look back at picks 22 to 29. Pass catchers flying off the board. JSN, the first receiver to go, as the Ravens, Vikings, Giants, and Cowboys all snag wide receivers. And then the Bengals and the Saints get tight ends, grabbing Michael Mayer and
We're just going to gloss over the best geographical and fan base fit in this entire mock draft with Cody Mauch going to Buffalo and Bills Nation and Bills Mafia. Come on.
We've hit the limit on linemen.
Right,
it's tough. It's tough, but that's the circumstance they were put in. We called Darnell Washington an extra offensive lineman. So let's go into the first round for Darnell Washington now in Rhett's mock draft. DJ, do you like that?
I do. I think he's somebody that a lot of times with tight ends, he's very popular in the quarterback room. He's not so popular in the running back room. He's going to be popular in both because he's going to be able to get that ground game cranked up, and he's going to be a big-time target and weapon down in the red zone. There's still polish to come as a route runner. I think the best is ahead of him there. Some development needs to take place, but this right here, put your face in somebody's chest and drive them off the ball, he can do that.
He absolutely can do that. And we have seen the Saints in the past have used 6 offensive linemen to jumpstart their running game. Well, now with this big guy, you have an athletic, quote-unquote, offensive tackle that also can catch passes. That's what you're getting from Darnell Washington.
And look, I think, when we get to let's say 25 through 31 or 32 in a normal draft, you start to get some of those names that maybe weren't talked about a bunch as first-round picks and can kind of come in the back half here. I feel like this could be a real wild card. We could see really kind of anything at this point for the Saints at 29.
A lot of offensive talent. We've seen that in Rhett's mock draft, but coming up, we're going to look not just at the offensive talent, but who we want in certain situations with the game on the line. DJ and Bucky have their thoughts. It's a barbershop discussion, but nobody's getting cut.
Oh, that's good.
It's coming up on Mock Draft Live.
I see what you did there.
The Rhett Lewis edition of Mock Draft Live continues 30. You've got the Eagles adding to their pass rush with Keon White, Rhett.
Yeah, look, we gave him Bijan Robinson, right, at pick number 10, one of the top prospects in this draft. Maybe it's something that isn't in the history of GM Howie Roseman, but this feels like it's right up his wheelhouse. Let's get back to the business of building on an already established strength along that defensive line. So, let's say if Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham are nearing the end, Keon White from Georgia Tech feels like a guy that can step right in and kind of provide some real value to that rotation.
Howie getting depth yet again, closing out the first round. The Chiefs adding Felix Onyeudike Uzama.
Yeah, I really like this with Frank Clark out of the mix now in Kansas City. There's been a clear push from this franchise to build with youth on the defensive side of the ball. Saw it last year, in the last couple of years, building up the secondary. And then you saw George Karlaftis, last year as well. Now we put FAU on the other side, and we're getting some real edge presence here.
So the big story in Rhett's mock draft, 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. Starts with Bryce to the Panthers at 1, C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson going to Houston and Indy. Then a little bit later, the Titans and the Seahawks get their quarterbacks of the future with Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. So much of the quarterbacks gets us into our cluster buster because you haven't heard enough about the quarterback class here in 2023. So let's break it down just a little bit more. We'll put some stipulations on it. DJ, one drive, game on the line. Who's your quarterback in this draft?
Oh, I'm going to go with Bryce Young. Is that a controversial take? I mean, I'm just going to take the best guy. You put everything on the line. We saw it in the Texas game. You saw it in this game against Tennessee when they needed it, moving the ball down the field. You saw it at LSU. You can go on and on and on throughout his career there at Alabama. When the game is on the line, he has a low heartbeat, he is poised, and he delivers.
And when it comes out on the other side, it's because the team either went for 2 or
he didn't get the ball back.
Couldn't get the stop. He couldn't get back on the field. So Bryce there, Bucky, let's say it's one play, not one drive, one play. Who's your quarterback in this draft?
Well, I'm going with the ultimate winner. That's Stetson Bennett from Georgia.
There it is.
We're going with the legend because if we talk about being able to get it done, we have seen Stetson Bennett get it done time and time again. You put the ball in his hands. He was a guy that everyone counted out, but somehow he continued to stay in there. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing. He has a powerhouse team. He elected Stetson Bennett to be his QB1. I'm going to go with him in that situation.
Can't argue with results. He's done it. So let's go to another quarterback, Rhett.
Yeah.
Which one has the absolute highest ceiling in this draft?
Look, I think it's hard to argue with Anthony Richardson in this spot. I mean, the skill set is just tantalizing with the athleticism, the arm talent. There's so much to like there. Now, how do we harness it, right? How do we polish up the prospect to get that potential? Well, we put him in the right place with the proper plan. How many P's are we rolling with here, guys? I'm telling you right now,
a lot of alliteration.
Shane Steichen is going to love this alliteration there in Indianapolis in this projection. Can do a little bit of with what he wants to do with Anthony Richardson, what we've already seen him do with Jalen Hurts. Kind of a similar player in terms of that potential that needed a little bit of the polish. Let's go ahead and get it right there with Anthony Richardson and the high ceiling.
All right, let's get one more. Who's the perfect player for proximity to the floor? Who's got the safest floor in this draft?
I see what you did there. I'm going to go C.J. Stroud to me from Ohio State. I feel like I know exactly what I'm buying with C.J. Stroud. You're buying a pure pocket passer who showed there is some athleticism when called upon, when needed. He can give you that. But more than anything else, he's going to put his cleats in the ground within the pocket. He's going to deliver the football accurately. He's got a chance to be a really good player, but I feel like the floor with him is very high. You're going to get a steady, solid starting quarterback.
And just a reminder, folks, the 2023 NFL Draft is just a few weeks away, so you can find out We're Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. All the stars of tomorrow are going to land. Catch the action live from Kansas City at Union Station starting April 27th. Watch on NFL Network as well as NFL Plus.
Here we go. It is mock draft mixtape time. And for those that are young and don't know what a mixtape is, let me explain it to you real quick. Back in the day, we weren't able to just download whatever song that you wanted. If you wanted to put together something to listen to on a date or if you're hanging out with your buddies, you had to make a mixtape. So you took all these songs, you recorded them off the radio, you put them on one tape. We're going to give you the draft version of that right here, Buck. We're going to go rounds 1, 2, and 3, your favorites. So you're putting a compilation together, your favorite players, round 1, 2, and 3.
Well, you have to have a banger on the playlist right out the gate. So let's go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 1, this is a big-time playmaker, outstanding route runner. You'll see the stop-start quickness, the separation ability as he consistently gets open over the middle of the field. But the magic happens when he gets the ball in his hands. He is a guy that can take it the distance whenever he touches the ball anywhere over the field. One of the reasons why I think he's going to be an outstanding number 1 receiver at the next level.
And back in the day when you're making a mixtape, you'd always have your sister write the names of the songs, and the penmanship was just much better. We're trying to really class this thing up a little bit. All right, second round, your favorite guy.
Okay, so baseline, you got to have like a banger, a thumper. So let's go with Jack Campbell from Iowa. We're going to put him there in that spot. Let me spread him out. Here we go. Big time downhill player, comes down, instincts, awareness, has a knack for making plays sideline to sideline. If you want that level of toughness, a tone setter, Campbell's the guy.
I like Jack Campbell. Was somebody could hear his name called potentially in the bottom of round 1. More than likely, probably round 2 is where he lands. All right, we got 2 nice jams here to start us off, Buck. We need your third round guy. Let's finish your mixtape off here.
Okay, so this might be a little acquired taste. So Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. And when you look at the big guy from Oregon State, tremendous athlete, works the seam, soft hands, has the ability to make plays as a flex tight end. Everyone in the league now wants someone that can create matchups on the outside. He is a mismatched nightmare for defenders having to deal with him in space.
Yeah, I have a feeling if he had played the whole season, Buck, he might have to be up here in the number 1 spot as a first-round guy. I think there's still a chance he could go there. Interesting player, big-time speed, big-time athlete. So there's your mixtape here. Can I jump in on this?
Here we go. Let's go. Let's get some of this.
All right, let me jump in on this here. Let's go with my mixtape here. I'm going to start with my first one. My favorite player to watch in round number 1 is Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. So I'm going to make him number 1. He's going to be my number 1 track here when we get to the draft. To me, somebody that's got instincts, he's got awareness, he's got ball skills, but what I love in corners, Buck, I love toughness and I love competitiveness. And his tape is littered with those 2 qualities.
I mean, we can talk about all that alliteration, toughness, technique, and tape. He deserves to be up there.
Yeah, he's my number 1 guy here. That's my first round favorite guy to watch. He makes his way onto the mixtape. I feel like my graphics a little better than yours. I'm going to go with my second round favorite player, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. He's one that is going to be a dynamic weapon in the passing game. You can split him out. You can get him into the route out of the backfield. People have a tough time matching up with him in space, Buck, and as a runner, once he gets to the perimeter, he is gone. Think of Jamal Charles, the impact he had on the league. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a similar skill set. His quarterback is going to love him on third down.
If you can be a running back in this league and make it happen, you have to be able to impact the game as a receiver. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best that we've seen in a long time.
All right, we get to the third round here. This is like my favorite little draft crush. I've been trying to get this train going, talking to buddies around the league, coaches and personnel guys. But Jose Ramirez from Eastern Michigan, he is a pass rusher. He has got tremendous instincts and feel coming off the edge. He can bend when he gets to the top of his rush. Would I like to see a few more fans in the stadium? Yes, I would like to see a few more fans in the stadium. But the man can absolutely finish. So if you're a pass rusher, I'm not into disruption. I want production. He gives it to you. He's a finisher. I think round 3, there's a chance he goes there. Maybe even get him in round 4, but he made his way onto my mixtape.
One of the hidden gems in this draft class.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Now, those are our 2 mixtapes. A guy who had an unbelievable mixtape, actually numerous mixtapes, Patrick Claybon.
Yeah, I was burning them on the CDs, though, guys. See, it's not just the first-round prospects here on Mock Draft Live. We got even deeper, the best mid-round gems coming up on next year's draft. That's coming up right now on Mock Draft Live. Well, it's time for some mid-round gems. Last year, guys like Damian Pierce, Tariq Woolen went in the middle round, so we know there's plenty of talent to be found later on in the draft. So who is a mid-round guy that you really like this year, DJ?
I'm going to go to Utah, and I'm going to go Braden Daniels. And there's some schools that just do great at certain positions. And when you look at Utah, the line of scrimmage, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, it has been a factory. He plays left tackle for the Utes. I think he can kick inside and be an outstanding guard. Tested really well at the combine. I'm a big fan of his game.
Bucky, who do you like?
How about Alabama, Henry To'o? Linebacker, great instincts, awareness. When you look at the tape, he plays the game the right way. May question the speed and those things, but in terms of playing it from start to finish, this is a guy that is classic teaching tape on how to play the linebacker position.
And I'll give you another linebacker to consider. I've waited a while to throw this one at you, but from the alma mater in Indiana, it's Cam Jones. Showed up in Bloomington as a wide receiver, worked his way into a starring role at linebacker, one of the best in the Big Ten Conference before getting hurt this past year. He's one of those guys that sees things developing before they happen, terrific instincts, and I think he's only going to get better with more experience at the position at the next level.
Bucky, would you say it takes To'o to make a thing go right?
A lot of O's.
And a lot of these circumstances are out of sight because ultimately what somebody's going to do is make the cases because these mid-round guys shine, well, you don't need to take X position in the first round because all that's going to happen. We do know that certainly some of the guys will outshine guys going in the first round. As for the first round, it's tough to make, mocks.
That's bad.
Because
to be fair,
that's not going to make us internationally known, Patrick.
To be fair, farthest away from the draft is the hardest. I think Rhett is probably the farthest away from the draft. So we'll give him.
Well,
I feel like this wasn't very nice. I feel like that's mean.
Man.
I did not approve of that.
Again,
I did not
in
approve
Rhett's
of that
defense,
at all.
he only gets one go at this.
Yeah.
One go to wield all of the consternation and agitation from you guys. And
So
you
again,
guys get it from everybody else.
I know they were keeping receipts.
all we're really trying to do, and we've talked about this before, is just get most of the right players into the first round here. I mean, like, we
Get
can't
them in the right
control the
neighborhood.
trades that happen.
Yeah, get him in the neighborhood.
Hey, did you know Rhett's a big Oregon fan?
I didn't.
Yeah, he is. He just loves. He walks around going like this all day long.
It's ridiculous. I need my helmet. Where did that helmet go?
You have to be prepared to defend your mock draft. That's going to be it for us today. Next week, Peter Schrager is in the hot seat. We're diving into his mock draft 1.0. As for us, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching Mock Draft Live.